So I guess my question for both of you is, first of all, what does this mean for me and my future, especially with nuclear energy growing? Do you think it will save us or harm us?
Who would you like to ask the question to first?
How about you?
Okay. If we had started building a nuclear plant when you were born, you'd be enjoying its power today. Now, for some people, that's too long. But then you would enjoy that nuclear plant, not just to the end of your lifetime, but your children would be able to retire working at that same nuclear plant. The ability to think in a long time period is not just what we need to solve climate change and to protect our environment, it's what's required to execute a nuclear energy program. I think it's a perfect match between form and function. So if you start today learning about nuclear energy, you go into the workforce, it is without a doubt true what Dr. Dorfman says, it takes too long to build a nuclear plant. You can be part of the young generation that gets that building time down to the way we used to have it, which was about 5 years, 5 or 6 years to build a plant.
Thank you. And Dr. Dorfman?
Okay, we're surrounded by all of the bad news that we hear these days, whether it's war, whether it's climate, and all the rest of it. The key thing, and the most important thing that you, my children and grandchildren need to hang on to, is that the renewable evolution is here, and it will change everything. It'll change the way that we feel about ourselves. It'll change the way our relationship between us and the environment. When we switch on that light, when we turn on that car, we know that power will be coming from non-polluting renewable energy. And it's a huge message of hope.
Thank you. And also my other question for both of you would be, do you think that other types of nuclear power plants, for example, like thorium molten salt reactors, or even just a small modular reactor, do you think those will change the way that we interact and, like you were saying a second ago, the scale and speed at which we build these?
I think that one of the top ways young people like yourself are learning about and getting excited about nuclear energy is all the interesting reactor designs that either we pursued and let stop or that we're coming back to now. I think that a number of those reactor designs are bringing in geniuses into nuclear energy that probably wouldn't join one of the old established companies, and I would never bet against one or more of them executing on the dream of fast, cheap, rapid building of nuclear plants through new technologies. I think that thorium reactors are important because they assure that we would have billions of years of fuel as opposed to just hundreds of millions of fuel through uranium supplies. But that's a long time in the future,
yes,
especially for a young person like yourself. Now, will those technologies revolutionize nuclear in the next 5 years? It's unlikely, though countries like Russia and China and India have bet a lot of money and a lot of their brightest minds on developing those technologies, and I think we would be foolish here in America not to also pursue the development along those lines.
And Dr. Dorfman?
Okay, I wouldn't be fooled. There is such a thing as reality. The reality is that all of these things are in development. Yeah. And there's a joke about fusion reactor. Okay, and I hope you can get this. Fusion reactors, for the last 70 years, always 20 years in the future, is this an experiment to prove that time doesn't exist in nuclear physics?
Beckett, let me ask you the last question. You've heard about an hour of discussion. Where do you see this now?
So, I personally think that nuclear is going to be our number one renewable source of energy. And that is because it's not going to shine every day, and it's not going to be windy every day. And even though we do have generators that will hold off renewable resources on the days when the sun isn't shining and it's not windy, the question is, what happens if there's a month where it isn't windy in a certain location, or a month where it isn't sunny in a certain location? And to that I would say the only solution is nuclear, either fusion or fission.
But you come to a lot of World Affairs Council events.
Yes.
And you think a lot about geopolitical threats. Does it concern you that a country like Saudi Arabia could use this as a foundation to have a nuclear weapon?
So, yes, that's a very good question. What I would say is that, obviously, this is a very unique scenario where we're essentially letting a country that is sort of our enemy, sort of also our ally, Saudi Arabia, to have our nuclear designs. Now, the thing that I would say, if we were to convert to, say, a thorium molten salt reactor, it's impossible to turn those into bombs because they won't explode.
You get the last word.